Hello, good morning, and welcome everybody to another beautiful day here at the Waterhole. My name is Amy, and I will be with you for the first half of the show today. We are starting off here in Namibia at Okakuyo, and a rather quiet morning for the most part, but there are a few antelope in the background I can see, and I think slowly but surely they will make their way towards the water. Looking like there are a few clouds in the sky, but quite a lot of blue sky for the most part here at Okukuro. If you are joining us perhaps for the first time and are new to the show, just a reminder to everyone that this is a live and interactive show. So please do send through your comments and your questions. It's always a fantastic part of doing the show. One of my favorites is hearing from you all as viewers and being able to chat to you and share in what you're thinking, what you're wanting to know, even if it's just to say hello and let me know where you're watching from and what you're enjoying. I'd love to hear from you. I see we have some giraffe coming down, everyone. That's exciting. There's some springbuck here closest to us, and then a gemsbok in the background as well. Stephen, hello. You say hello, Amy and WildEarth. A very warm welcome to you, Stephen. It's great to have you with us once again today. Hello, France. You are joining us from the Netherlands. A very warm welcome to you. It's so wonderful to have people and viewers from all over the globe. And we get to share our little piece of paradise here on the African continent with not only people in Africa, but across the world. All right. Well, I'm interested to see what the weather is doing in the different locations today. So, why don't we take a moment and have a look at that? Well, it's looking a little bit of a mixed weather forecast today across different locations. We've had some severe storms over the last 48 hours in the Lowveld area of the Kruger National Park, but it is extremely humid and very warm, even though it's drizzling slightly today. It's still very, very hot, even though there's no direct sunshine. In fact, as I'm saying that, I can hear the thunder in the background where I am. So I think there's a little bit more rain coming to the Lowveld area over the next 24 to 48 hours. But here in Okokuya, the sun is shining, although there are some clouds in the sky. But we're grateful for the rain, even though it does mean that sometimes the water holes are a little bit more quiet just because the heat usually means that more animals will come down to drink. But I'm hoping that maybe because of the cooler weather, we'll get lucky with some kind of predator today. The overcast weather sometimes brings out the likes of wild dogs or even lions. So fingers crossed for that. Hello, Helen. You want to know if we live over Christmas and New Year? Yes, we absolutely are. Um, it is something that, as Wild Earth, we are really proud of and happy to say that we will be broadcasting 365 days a year. So, I myself won't be on during Christmas and New Year on the Waterhole show. I think that will be Ralph that will be joining you through that time. But even with the live safaris in the morning and the afternoon, Wild Earth will still be broadcasting and have our daily shows. So, how exciting and wonderful is that? We hope that that will help your festive season wherever you are. See through the holidays and perhaps get some of your families, if they are getting together, to also have a bit of nature as part of the holiday season. Slowly but surely, these giraffes are coming down, everyone. They are just so cautious. So they do take their time, but when they eventually get to the waterhole, it is wonderful to be able to see them drink. We actually haven't come to Okakuyo in the last few times that I've been on the waterhole due to various factors. But it's so nice that the feed is stable and that we're able to be here. I've missed it. We've had some fantastic sightings here, especially when the elephants do come through. And now we also have some gemsbok or oryx here drinking at the moment. Yesterday we had one show up at Jamala. It was the first time I had seen one on that particular waterhole. It was lovely to see it there. And now this is where we see quite a few of them. So very nice to see even actually a young one there in the middle coming down to drink.
I started watching WildEarth during COVID. I decided that I wanted to study more, and I saw that Eco Training Pridelands was doing courses, and I decided to do the 8-week online theory course at the end of last year. There's just so much out there to learn and to experience.
Sign up for an Eco Training digital course today with the promo code to receive 200 Rand off.
Geo, you are saying good morning from Yorkshire. Well, very nice to have you with us as well. Grace, you are also saying hi, everyone. It's good to have both Geo and Grace with us. And apologies for the pronunciation here, but Mauli VC, you saying just discovered a treasure. Thanks for the team and wish you great success from Chandra. Well, Chandra, thank you so much. That is really appreciated. I'm so glad that you've discovered Wild Earth, and a very warm welcome to you. We hope that you enjoy the show. Well, the giraffes have made it to the water, everyone, and one is brave enough to have a drink. There's a little bit of a younger one now coming down to also take a gulp. Hopefully, the third one will also brave the stretch of land between it and the water to be able to have a drink. But you can just see how cautious and apprehensive they are to lower their heads. But eventually, they'll get there. The Highlander, you want to know where all the alligators and crocodiles are? Well, there actually aren't any crocs here in Okukuyo. So the animals that come to drink at this particular waterhole don't need to worry about that. And then secondly, just to mention that there aren't any there aren't no alligators. There aren't any alligators here in Namibia. So alligators don't occur on the African continent. We only have the Nile crocodile. But we won't see that here. Hopefully a little bit later when Africam joins the show after 1 p.m., we may be able to head across to somewhere like Tau Lodge, where we sometimes do see crocodiles in those water holes. The reason, Highlander, that we don't see crocs here is because there's no major river systems that flow through this area of Namibia. We up in the sort of northern central parts of Namibia near Etosha, and there's no major river systems, and that's how crocodiles get to areas. So without that, these animals don't have to worry about the threat of crocs. But even so, the animals are still very cautious. It's just an instinctual thing to make sure that there's no danger around. But because of that, the threat being the threat of crocs not being in the water, on very hot days we actually see things like the gemsbok that are in the background, and the springbucks, even the ellies, feeling very comfortable to wade all the way into the water and have a swim, because they know that there's no threat around. Stephen, hello. You've asked if there's any subspecies of gemsbok. Now, gemsbok fall into the family of oryx antelopes. And as far as I'm aware, Stephen, from my understanding, is that the southern African gemsbok or oryx gazella does not have any subspecies of it. It's the one type of species that occurs in southern Africa. However, in the likes of East Africa, we do have subspecies that do occur. For example, particularly when we look at Oldonyo, when we have Africam join us, the East African oryx has two subspecies, but these are the fringe-eared oryx, which we often actually see there. We can clearly see the tips of the ears are fringe-like. Hopefully, we may be able to get one on camera for you in the future shows so that you can see, as well as the common oryx or Oryx baissa or baissa. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but it is the common oryx that's also found in East Africa. So subspecies in Southern Africa, no, but there are some subspecies in East Africa underneath the East African oryx. Overall, just in case anyone is particularly interested, there are actually 4 different types or species of oryx. We've got the gemsbok, which we know here on screen at the moment, the East African oryx, which of course has the 2 subspecies I just spoke about, and then there's the Arabian oryx, which occurs around the sort of Saudi Arabia, UAE area, and then the scimitar horned oryx. Apparently, that is extinct in the wild, and that's sort of the western central northern part of Africa that occurs in. They all look very much the same. There's just a sort of a shading difference with regards to their coats. These oryx are quite grey, but you do get some that are more creamy beige in color.
Africam's YouTube channel delivers daily doses of enchanting wildlife moments. Experience highlights captured live from our cameras to stay informed about the wildlife action. Dive into the immersive world of Africam's YouTube membership community. Engage in live chats, express yourself with custom emojis and badges, and unlock exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Subscribe to Africam's YouTube channel today and become part of a wildlife-loving community.
Lovely to see a herd of wildebeest come down to drink as well. Particularly love the noises here at Okakuyo. This is an incredible microphone that picks up even some of the smallest of the ambient noise that we get to hear. You can sometimes hear every footstep in the water. There's a bird in between those wildebeest. I don't know if we can get a closer look. It may be that black-headed heron that we often see. Fiona, you say that you are sitting in the UK and you just love this series, Wild Earth. Thanks. Well, Fiona, thank you for enjoying and joining us. It is great to have you with us all the way from the UK. Grace, you say that you're not sure what animals are generally seen at this waterhole, but you would enjoy seeing elephants or leopards. Now, Grace, that would be amazing to see. We do sometimes see elephants come down here, sometimes probably once within the show. So between now and 4 p.m., we may get elephants popping by for a drink. So we'll just have to check to see. Rolf will be taking over halfway through from me. So if we don't see any Ellies with him here, then with me here, then you might be able to see some with him. But luckily for us, we do have different locations. So if you don't see Ellies here, you may see it at some of our other spots that we head to with different water holes. I was just having a look. I saw this water bird walking around, and Nadine's been trying to get the camera on it for us. And now we've got it in focus just behind that springbuck. And it does look like a black-headed heron, everyone. Leopards, Grace, are a little bit more tricky. I personally haven't seen one on the Waterhole camera. They are very rare to see and often very elusive animals. But one day is one day, and today may be that day. So we will keep our eyes peeled across the locations and hopefully be able to spot one day on the show. That would be incredibly special. Mr. 420, you say that this is a silly question, but you want to know if this is South Africa. So, no, actually, this isn't South Africa, and it's not a silly question. It's always, if you're not sure, good to ask. But this is actually Namibia, near the Etosha National Park, a location called Okakuyo. We're very lucky with Live at the Waterhole on WildEarth that we can actually jump between countries depending on the feeds that are available from the Waterhole cameras. And so we are able to go and have a look at the different feeds across Africa, actually, not just in South Africa. Most of them are within South Africa, but we do have a feed here in Namibia. And a little bit later on in the show, we'll have a feed from Kenya as well. Nala, you want to know what herons eat in Africa. So birds like this black-headed heron here are eating things like fish, tadpoles, frogs, crustaceans, anything like that. That beak is very sharp and pointy. They also have a very long neck, which they can use to dart out and pierce whatever it is that they are looking for. Oh, everyone, look at the Egyptian geese chicks. The goslings are here with mom and dad. Very, very sweet. We've had a pair of Egyptian geese here pretty much permanently since I've been doing the show. And I thought now is the time for them to breed. And we often see Egyptian geese pairs with their chicks. And it's good to see that they finally had their little ones here at Okakuyo. Lenny, I believe that you were saying that you were hoping to see the goslings at Juma. Unfortunately, with the weather, that feed's a little bit unstable, so we haven't been able to hop over there. But at least we've got the goslings here at Okakuyo, which is very cute. I'm just trying to count to see how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think. Unfortunately, Egyptian geese babies are very vulnerable, and so they may have started off with a clutch of between 8 and 10, but now there are about 6 here, and so we'll have to check on the oncoming days how many actually survive. They are very easy prey for many other animals out here, but luckily they do have very protective parents who do their very best to help them survive. John Wilson, welcome. You say this is a very beautiful waterhole in Namibia. It is, isn't it? It's so unique. It's iconic to me, and I love watching what happens here. It's such a different habitat from what we're used to in the Lowveld area where I've done most of my guiding experience. So it is lovely to see an area that is so different. Catherine, you would like to know where they nest. So with Egyptian geese, they can either be terrestrial or arboreal. So their nest would be somewhere near the water, possibly not one that we could actually see very well disguised. and looked after, but they could do it in the low branches of a tree even. Otherwise, they would create a nest on the ground, maybe protected by some rocks, not too far from the water though. Look at the little lapwing chicks, everyone. There's one behind the springbuck and one to the right of the lapwing. There we go, it's moving. They're actually quite big already. I thought that was a three-banded plover actually, but it is a little baby blacksmith lapwing chick. They've grown a lot. The chicks that I've seen usually are just a little white fluff ball, but it's already starting to get its markings. How fantastic is this? We're just zooming out slightly because with a little bit of breeze and wind, the camera does get a bit shaky, everyone. But how sweet is it? So many little babies around the waterhole today. We're being spoiled. So that chick is probably triple the size of what it is when it's first born. That's why I didn't recognize it actually as a lapwing chick straight away. But it does make sense. It is very close to one of the adults. They are also monogamous breeders, so you'll have a parent pair that raise these chicks together. Lenny, you want to know what the goslings would eat at Okukuyo, and you say, don't they usually eat grass and seeds? So, Lenny, when we speak of the Egyptian geese, so that's not the chick that's on camera at the moment. Those are the little 8 little chicks that we saw with the Egyptian geese earlier. And oh, there comes the one from the left, this blacksmith lapwing chick. But the goslings, they'll be eating grass, little invertebrates, things like earthworms or beetles or something like that. And then, of course, grass. The adults eat a lot of mainly forage on grass that's growing. But then, of course, in this sort of habitat, they do adapt to eat some of the invertebrates as well.
Are you in search of a unique, unforgettable adventure in the wild? Imagine living with the animals you see on TV while getting an inside look at how a live safari TV show operates. We're thrilled to offer this experience through our 7, 14 and 28-day EcoCam experiences. To book your spot, visit wildearth.tv/EcoCam. Come and join us for the bush experience of a lifetime.
Wow, it's so lovely to have so much interaction with you all. So thank you for sharing your thoughts and your questions and your comments. We've had a stream of them come in. So to all of you, we really do appreciate it. Rosalind, you are asking how this particular waterhole gets fresh water. It is pumped. I believe it is from underground water, such as something like a borehole, where they pump the water from. But of course, if there is rain, then that also does help keep the water level up. Starbuck, you've asked a very interesting question, which is actually quite a nice topic to discuss as well. You are asking, wouldn't it be less effort if the lapwings nested in trees? So Starbuck, if on first thought you sort of think, oh well, of course, why don't all birds just nest in the trees? Because they actually have to actively defend that nest so much more than if it was safely, tucked away in the branches of a tree. But all lapwings are actually ground nesters. And the way I like to think about it, Starbuck, is that it takes a lot of effort to build a nest in a tree. If you think of the little passerine birds, which are perching birds, and the effort they go to make these most magnificent nests, which they use all sorts of natural materials to create the nest from, that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. They have to find the right bits and pieces with grass and leaves, pieces of spider web, lots of different things like that. The weavers, they go to town creating these elaborate weaving patterns that take a lot of effort, and the males are just constantly busy throughout that whole breeding season, just focused on the nest. So what the lapwings have adapted to, and they've chosen to fill in this niche where they don't need to build a nest. They literally make want to scrape with their foot in the ground and they lay their eggs. Now, that doesn't provide much protection, but the first thing that happens is that those eggs are extremely well camouflaged. So it's not so easy for something to spot the eggs. If they were bright blue or bright white, or even some sort of a different pattern that doesn't blend in as well as it does, that would be easy for something like a monitor lizard or a bird of prey, or anything that's going to eat eggs like that, to come and take those eggs and eat them. But because they are extremely well camouflaged, if you look up lapwing eggs on a nest, it'll at a distance, you can really, you'll be blown away with how well camouflaged they are. But that doesn't really help you, although it does protect you from predators to a degree. What if a big herd of elephants or buffalo come down to the waterhole? They can easily just trample those eggs. But what the lapwing has done is that rather than using the energy that it takes to build a nest in a tree, it saves that energy and rather uses it to actively defend its nest. So, or the eggs, should I say? It's not really much of a nest at all. Um, and so they have chosen that that is the way that they would prefer to do it, with regards to defending their nest actively rather than building something like a tree nest. And lapwings are particularly famous at protecting their eggs and their little ones as well. They are very, very, very good parents. And sometimes they'll even fake an injury, like having a limp wing, to distract a predator, so that it rather follows them than where their babies or their eggs are. All right. Well, apparently something interesting is happening across at Juma in the Sabi Sands. So why don't we head over here, there, and check it out? Oh, wow, everyone. This is very cool. I haven't seen this on the show before. This is looking like a dwarf bittern. You can see that very prominent streaking along the head and the chest. I will just give a little bit more time to confirm my ID, because sometimes the colorations don't always come through exactly on the cameras, but it is a water bird like this and actively hunting here across at Juma. All right, so just having a closer look at this particular bird on screen, it's actually a juvenile green-backed or striated heron, everyone. That is what it is. If this was a dwarf bittern, we wouldn't have that very significant stripe from the beak to the eye, and not that black and white on the face like that. There would just be the streaking on the breast. So this is a juvenile green-backed or striated heron. Grace, you were wishing it luck catching something? Yes, absolutely. I do wish it luck as well. Although it is very, very active. So I think we might be lucky with being able to see it catch something. It's very exciting when a heron is able to catch something like a frog or some sort of aquatic creature, and then it's got it between its beak, and then it actually gives it a little bit of a smush, hits it around a bit, and then swallows it whole. Hi, Witness. You and Jane are watching us from Pretoria. A very warm welcome to you. Rosalind De Silva, you are in Johannesburg in South Africa watching, and a very warm welcome to you as well. Ricky is joining us from the Arctic. Wow. And you say that one time you saw a glaucous gull swooping down on a family of eider ducks and their young catching one of the chicks and flying away with it. Bit horrible to watch, but that is part of what we witness here out in the wild, and that's exactly what can happen. I've often seen birds of prey, sorry, swoop down and take chicks or francolins or spurfowls, things like that. It's never fun to watch, but it is also quite amazing to see things like that. Layla, you are watching from a very wet UK. A very warm welcome to you, Layla. It is wonderful to have you with us.
This immersive program will give you an in-depth understanding of the African bush in as little as 7 days. You'll be guided by expert trainers who will lead you through the various ecosystems of Africa and teach you essential bush skills. Join Eco Training's 7 or 14-day EcoQuest course and you will receive 500 Rand off whether you sign up locally or internationally using this promo code. Further your journey as a true bush enthusiast today.
It's always good to have a little look around, just check if there's anything exciting happening that we may miss. Like I said, even though the weather is not ideal to see plenty of animals around, it is favorable for things like predators. So fingers crossed today we may get a special surprise. Actually, not just today, but the next few days that are having a little bit of cooler weather here in the Lowveld area. That looks like a Burchell's starling, everyone. We know that these starlings are nesting around this fallen over knobthorn tree. They use cavities like that to nest in. So they are often in and out of a few holes around that tree. Well, it's been lovely to see that green-backed heron hunting and just taking in some of the bird calls here as well of those red-billed buffalo weavers. But apparently there are some elephants at Jamala, so why don't we head over there and say hello? All right, well, there we go. An elephant having a little bit of a rub here, scratching an itch. I think there was maybe a little bit of rain here last night. Seems like the soil's a little bit darker around, a bit more damp. Things do look a little bit greener as well here. So we'll see what happens here at Jamala today. For those of you who may be joining us today for the first time, this waterhole yesterday was packed with elephants. I mean, there was probably between 60 and 80 elephants here at one time. So just with a little bit of the cooler weather now, meaning that not so many of these elephants need to come to have a mud splash or mud wallow or even a drink at this stage. But how interesting is the color of the water's reflection today? With the color of the sky coming through, you've almost got this turquoisey aqua color reflecting off of the water here at Jamala. You can see where these eddies, when it is busy, we often don't even get a view of this tree. I like to think of it as the surviving tree. it's done incredibly well in some very harsh conditions. It's often picked at by many of the ellies that come down here to the water, as well as rubbed against all of these big sort of boulders of ground are a favorite for the elephants to rub their bodies against as they move past. We're going to have a look to see if we can spot any birds around Jamala. Sometimes there are a few. Oh, there's a blacksmith lapwing um, that come down to drink when things are a little bit quieter. It's also beautiful to see the birds. I do enjoy a little bit of birding, so that's fine by me. Isabella, you want to know, are there any birds that will feed on algae? Yes, Isabella, there's lots of the water birds or waders that do eat aquatic plants, not only plants, but also aquatic invertebrates, things like that. Ducks, in particular, even the Egyptian geese, they will eat something like algae. So that is all part of their diets. This is very interesting. I'm just trying to work out. I saw the head move, so it's definitely a bird. I wonder if it's not a juvenile blacksmith lapwing. Difficult to say with it resting down like this, unless it's just a morph of coloration that's slightly different. Very well, maybe sitting on a nest as well. Oh, there's a guinea fowl. So these would be helmeted guinea fowl, everyone, with those very beautiful blue helmets on top of their heads. And that I did just check the plumage for juvenile lapwing, and that is indeed what they look like. So that would have been a juvenile blacksmith lapwing sitting there. All right. Well, while we check to see if anything comes down here at Jamala, hopefully another elephant or two, we'll have to wait and see. Let's head back over to Namibia. Often at Okukuyo here in Namibia, we sort of have these waves of animals come through. Like we had the giraffe, we had the wildebeest, we had zebra coming down just before we headed off. And I'm sure we might see that again as we are here. The Egyptian geese are still with their goslings cruising around. Speaking of springbuck, Rosalind De Silva, you say that you spent a week in the Kruger around the Lower Sabi area and you saw a lot of impala. But apparently springbok aren't so easily found there. And where do springbok usually live? Well, right here, Rosalind. And yes, you won't see any springbok in the Lowveld or the Greater Kruger area. So it's not that they're not easily found; they don't occur there. So if you do see one, that would be an amazing scientific discovery. So please do report it if you do spot a springbok in the Kruger National Park. Rosalind, the reason for that is that springbok are specially adapted to be able to live and survive in more dry, arid areas. Impala can as well. We do get both impala and springbok here at Okukuyo, but impalas prefer the sort of milder, I put that in inverted commas because it still is quite extreme weather, but they don't cope so well in the very, very cold. So the springbok are more successful in sort of the western, northern western side, central side of South Africa. We don't really see them in the east so much. So this is where the springbok, I mean, we see them sort of in the northern parts of the Eastern Cape, the Northern Cape, part of the Free State as well. So that those areas of South Africa, and then up more north, of course, into Namibia here, where they occur close to Etosha and here at Okukuyo. Hello, Albert. You are from Windhoek. All right, so a local Namibian here, and you want to know the Egyptian geese and its chicks. Do they live in this waterhole entirely, or do they wait until it rains to venture out? Um, no, Albert, I would say that this pair and its chicks and their chicks will be here until those chicks fledge. So for the next sort of 3 to 4 months, they will be around this waterhole. Also, with it being in a very dry area, there isn't plenty of water around. So you'll have major waterholes in certain areas, and this will be one of them. And there won't be other water around for many, many kilometers, unless there is, of course, natural pools that fill up with the occasional rain. But this is a drier habitat or climate where not so much rain falls, therefore water needing to be provided in the area for the animals which naturally occur here. And so these Egyptian geese, once those chicks fledge, they may fly off and find other water holes many kilometers away. But for now, until those chicks are big enough to actually fend for themselves and start their lives independent of their parents, they will stay around this waterhole at Okukuyo. So we should see them here every day. And like I said, we can even count the chicks every day to see how many are around, as the numbers do often drop.
Eco Training's professional field guide course can make your dreams a reality. This comprehensive program comprises 5 months of theoretical and practical training in the African bush with highly qualified instructors in multiple locations. Enroll today and receive 5,000 Rand off using the promo code. If you've just finished school or tertiary education and you want to head into the wild, Eco Training's professional field guide course is for you.
Well, there are some more gemsbok that have arrived here at Okukuyo, as well as some springbuck. And you can see now what I was speaking of earlier with these animals feeling very comfortable to walk quite far into the water holes, sometimes even going as deep as their bellies. I even saw a gemsbok do a little bit of a swim from one side to the other at one point, due to the fact that there's no crocodiles around here. Milo, hello. You want to know if antelopes ever shed their fur? No, Milo, they don't. Not as we would understand sometimes, especially animals in the northern hemisphere, where it gets very, very cold in the wintertime. They actually develop a winter coat to help them keep warm. And then in the summer, they actually shed that to have their summer coat. But antelopes don't. They have one coat all through the year. The temperatures, although get extreme to a degree, they're not quite as extreme as snow on either end. So in these particular areas where these reserves are. So although it does get cold, it's not the really sort of serious minus temperatures where they would actually need to insulate themselves further. It is rather warm here and it gets extremely hot as well. What we do see sometimes with these animals in cooler weather, particularly on impalas, I always take note of it. On cooler winter mornings, they actually practice palo erection. So they stick their hairs up, which makes them look like they almost have a different coat of fur on. And that just helps insulate and trap more warm air against their bodies. Outside is a beautiful waterhole indeed, isn't it? Very peaceful. Layla, you want to know if we get great go-away birds here because you love them. The distribution does include this area of Namibia, although I don't think I've actually heard one calling at Okukuyo. But it does look like they can be seen in the area, not as quite densely populated as the low-veld area or the parts of South Africa further up north where we get them, but they can be seen. Nala, hello. You want to know what are my favorite birds to spot? Ooh, I think my favorite birds to spot are the ones that I'm looking for. I know that might sound a little bit of a strange answer, but it is so exciting when you are looking for a particular bird or you go to on a specific birding trip, and let's say you are looking for, you know that this area is good to see. The bird that's coming to mind right now is like a southern pied barbet. Um, sorry, southern pied babbler, and then you see it and you can add it to your life list, and it's just so incredible. I remember going on birding trips to see like a new habitat or a habitat that isn't in the low felt area, and you know that there's a whole bunch of new birds that you're able to add to your list. Sometimes it's inland areas on the high veld. Sometimes it's a new biome that is different from the savanna biome, which we're very familiar with and see very often. And so different biomes lead to different birds, and that's when I'm most excited to spot birds. I think when I can spot a bird that I don't recognize, that's my favorite thing. Then I know that that's something new and something different. I remember in the Kruger last year we did a trip, and we went to an area I hadn't been in before. It was a very large waterhole in the northern section, and I was able to spot a bird that I was like, what is this? I haven't seen this before. And I got so excited because I knew that this would be a new bird for me. And it was a collared Prantenkoll, which was very, very cool. Subsequently, I've seen quite a few of them, but they're not super common. So that was very exciting. And then also at that same waterhole, we spotted a ruddy turnstone. So had no idea what bird that was. We had to sit and sift through the list and look up in the bird book because we had never seen something like that before. So that I think are my favorite birds to spot.
Hickory dickory dock, the kids ran to the spot. The clock struck 4, the kids sat down, hickory dickory dock. Our kids safaris bring interactive entertainment and learning to the future protectors of our world for 1 hour every weekday during our safari drives. Watch it live on your nearest device. Don't miss out on the fun. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Hello, Rosie. You are from the USA and you say that you can't believe how rocky it is here at Okakuyo and how the animals walk on the rocks like they're walking on sand. That is also what I thought, Rosie, when I first saw Okakuyo, and I just saw how these animals just deal with the rocks. They've completely adapted to them. I think there's a lot of pathways that we can't see because of the angle. It looks like the rocks are very, very close to one another, but actually, there may be pathways in between. Like if we look at the rocks that are closest to the camera here, there's actually a bit of space where animals could navigate through. And then there are actually some clear, very clear game path. There's one that comes sort of on the right hand side of the rocks, on the screen, that travels all the way. We saw the giraffe walking on it earlier. When and if the elephants do come, they often walk from the left hand side of the swim, from almost behind the camera. They come and drink, walk through the waterhole, come out on the other side, and follow that game path away. So Rosie, it is amazing. I think there's a slight optical illusion in terms of how tightly packed the rocks are, but I do still think that it is amazing that these animals can walk through them like it's nothing. Lady Macbeth, welcome. Hello, good to hear from you. You say that it's lovely to catch up with Etosha. Yes, it is. It's so good to be here at Okakuyo. As I said, it had been a while, so it's nice to check in here, see the scene, see the animals, and see that everything is doing very well. All right. Well, can you believe it? Time flies, but it is almost time for Africam to join the show. For those of you who don't know, at 1 o'clock Central African time, we have Africam join the show, which means a few more camera locations are added, which is fantastic. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, you will have to hop over onto either the WildEarth app or website. Otherwise, if you're in the UK, you can carry on watching the show on Freeview, or in Southern Africa, you can hop onto DSTV channel 183 and the show will continue there.